Ladies and gentlemen, let's begin by taking a deep breath together. Inhale, hold, and exhale. Feel the shift of energy around you. This moment, this breath, is all that truly exists. Now, I want you to consider something with me. What is the most powerful thing you can do in a relationship? Is it the way you love, the way you give, or perhaps the way you walk away? When we talk about relationships, a common misconception is that in order to be loved, we must constantly seek external validation. We often feel like our worth is determined by how others see us, how much attention we get, and how loved we feel by those around us. For many, especially in romantic relationships, this is an ingrained belief. We give, we love, we seek, but at the core of it all is an unspoken question: am I enough? And it's this question that drives us into patterns of seeking validation from others, often at the expense of our own sense of self. However, the moment we shift our focus from seeking validation from others to validating ourselves, something remarkable happens. It's as though we finally step out of the shadows of dependency and into the light of self-empowerment. The simple act of validating yourself is transformative because it acknowledges that your worth is not contingent upon anyone else's approval. It comes from within, a realization that you are enough exactly as you are without needing anyone else to confirm it. When men begin to sense that you no longer need their validation to feel whole or secure, they start to notice a change in you. This is because at the deepest level, we are all energetically attuned to the self-worth of those around us. When someone radiates self-assurance and confidence, it's magnetic. It draws people in, but not because they are trying to win approval or affection. Rather, it's the energy of someone who knows their value, who doesn't depend on external sources to validate their existence. That stands out. When you no longer seek validation from others, especially in a romantic context, you stop playing the game of trying to prove your worth. Instead, you begin to live your truth. And as you step into that power, men begin to see you in a completely different light. They see you as someone who has a deep understanding of their own value and no longer requires constant reassurance. This is the essence of emotional independence, a quality that is rare and deeply attractive. In contrast, when we're constantly seeking external validation, we are unconsciously telling others that we are not enough on our own. This dynamic can create a sense of imbalance in a relationship, where one person may feel like they are always in a position of power, and the other is in a perpetual state of seeking approval. This can lead to frustration, resentment, or even a sense of emotional fatigue because no matter how much attention or validation a person gets, it never feels like enough. It becomes a cycle where one person is always giving and the other is always taking, but neither feels truly fulfilled. By learning to validate yourself, you break free from this pattern. You begin to realize that your worth is inherent, that you don't need to seek it outside of yourself. This shift doesn't mean you stop caring about the people in your life or that you become indifferent to their love or affection. Rather, it means that their love becomes an added bonus to the love you already give yourself. It means you are whole, not incomplete, and you don't need anyone else to fill a void. This internal shift doesn't just change how you feel about yourself, it changes how others perceive you as well. Men, in particular, are often drawn to women who have a deep sense of self-worth. When they see that you no longer depend on them for validation, they may experience a deep sense of longing. There is a magnetic pull towards someone who is secure in their own skin, who exudes confidence and self-respect. This is not about being arrogant or prideful. It's about being comfortable with who you are without needing anyone else to tell you that you're enough. When this change happens, it's subtle but powerful. Men may begin to miss your presence more, not because you're playing hard to get or withholding affection, but because your energy is different. You're no longer energetically available in the same way. They feel the shift and realize that you are no longer dependent on them to complete you or make you feel valuable. You've tapped into a deeper sense of fulfillment, and that's what becomes magnetic. By validating yourself, you also create space for healthier dynamics in your relationships. Rather than seeking constant approval or attention, you allow for more meaningful interactions. When you are secure in your own worth, you are less likely to tolerate disrespect or settle for anything less than what you deserve. You can enter a relationship from a place of strength, knowing that your happiness and well-being are not reliant on the other person's actions. This changes the entire dynamic of the relationship. You are no longer looking for someone to complete you, but rather you are looking to share your life with someone who appreciates the fullness you already embody. This internal validation also allows you to become more attuned to your own needs and desires. When you stop seeking approval, you start listening to your inner voice more closely. You begin to recognize what you truly want, what makes you happy, and what aligns with your values. This clarity can help you make decisions that are in your best interest rather than making choices based on the desire for approval or external validation. So when men start missing you more, it's not because you've suddenly become less available or distant in an intentional way. It's because you've stopped seeking their validation, and in doing so, you've unlocked a deeper level of attraction. You've shifted your energy from dependence to self-assurance, and that's the energy that calls them in. It's not about being perfect or having all the answers. It's about being comfortable with who you are and knowing that you don't need anyone else to confirm your worth. You are enough on your own. When you focus on your own growth and happiness, the energy around you begins to shift. It's not about waiting for someone else to change or looking to someone else for fulfillment. Instead, it's about recognizing that your own personal evolution holds the power to transform every aspect of your life, including your relationships. When you begin to elevate your own sense of well-being, when you invest time and energy in becoming the best version of yourself, it creates a magnetic effect on those around you. The first step in this shift is recognizing that you are the architect of your own happiness. It is not dependent on external factors or other people. While relationships can bring joy and connection, they should not be the sole source of your fulfillment. When you are self-sufficient in your emotional well-being, your energy radiates a sense of completeness and confidence. This is the energy that others, particularly men, begin to feel when they interact with you. It's an energy that is both soothing and powerful at the same time. When you become focused on your own growth, whether it's in your career, your personal interests, or your emotional healing, it sends a clear message to the universe that you are prioritizing yourself. You are saying that your dreams, your goals, and your personal development are worthy of time, effort, and dedication. This kind of self-awareness and commitment to growth can't help but attract the right kind of attention. People, including men, are drawn to this energy because it signals that you are aligned with your purpose and you are on a path of continual improvement. You're not stagnant or waiting for something to complete you. You are actively working on becoming the person you're meant to be. As you elevate your own sense of fulfillment, something remarkable happens. The people around you, especially those who care for you, begin to notice the change. They feel the subtle shift in your energy. What they may have once taken for granted, your attention, your affection, your time, suddenly feels more precious, more valuable. It's not because you've withdrawn or become cold, but because you are now coming from a place of abundance. Your focus is no longer solely on meeting their needs or seeking their approval. Instead, it is on your own journey, your own self-improvement, and your own happiness. This shift in energy often leads to a profound change in how others interact with you. Men, in particular, are drawn to this because it signals strength, independence, and emotional maturity. When they see that you are not dependent on them for your happiness or sense of self-worth, they begin to miss the energy that you once brought into their lives. They recognize that the space they once filled is now occupied by your own sense of purpose and inner peace. What makes this energy so magnetic is that it is rooted in authenticity. You are not trying to impress anyone, you are simply being yourself, but the version of yourself that has fully embraced personal growth and self-love. When you are secure in who you are, others can't help but be drawn to you. The more you work on becoming the best version of yourself, the more others will see the shift in your energy. This energy is no longer about seeking approval or validation, it's about radiating confidence, independence, and a deep sense of fulfillment. As you become more focused on your personal development, you also begin to raise your standards. Your inner growth naturally leads you to demand more from the people around you, and this is not about becoming difficult or demanding. It's about recognizing your worth and no longer tolerating anything less than what aligns with your highest self. When you are emotionally independent and grounded in your own energy, you no longer settle for relationships that drain you or fail to meet your needs. You are no longer willing to accept half-hearted love or superficial connections. Instead, you open yourself up to relationships that are built on mutual respect, shared values, and emotional depth. This transformation also brings a sense of peace into your life. As you focus on your growth and happiness, you learn to let go of any unhealthy attachments or patterns that may have once held you back. You stop living in a state of constant waiting or seeking approval, and you begin to live in the present moment. You stop searching for fulfillment outside of yourself and instead embrace the fact that you are complete and whole just as you are. The moment you stop waiting for someone else to give you the love and attention you desire, you free yourself from the constraints of dependency. You allow space for true love to flourish, not because you need it, but because you want it. Men begin to miss you when they sense this shift, not because you've withdrawn or become indifferent, but because your energy is now coming from a place of fulfillment. They realize that you are not waiting around for them to validate you, and this creates a longing within them, a longing for the energy they once had easy access to, but now must work to earn. When you focus on your growth, your happiness becomes contagious. It's not just about what you do for yourself, but how your energy affects everyone around you. The more you grow, the more others are invited to do the same. This upward spiral of energy, fueled by self-love and self-empowerment, creates a space where healthy relationships can thrive. It becomes clear to those who care about you that you are no longer the person they can take for granted. Your personal development is a signal to them that you are a force to be reckoned with, and it draws them in, often making them miss the version of you they once knew. When you focus on your own growth and happiness, the entire dynamic of your relationships changes. Your energy becomes the source of attraction, not your need for attention or approval. This shift not only elevates your life, but also creates space for others to see you in a new light, longing to experience the energy you've cultivated. When you begin to give from a place of abundance rather than lack, everything in your relationship starts to change. The fundamental difference between giving from abundance and giving from a place of need is that the first comes from a place of internal fulfillment, while the second stems from an inner void. Most of us, at some point, have been in relationships where we give and give, hoping to receive something in return, whether it's affection, approval, attention, or validation. The problem with this dynamic is that when we give out of a sense of lack, we are often left feeling drained, unappreciated, or unfulfilled. We begin to depend on others to meet our emotional needs, and in doing so, we set up a cycle of unbalanced giving and taking. On the other hand, when we give from a place of abundance, we no longer seek anything in return. We are already whole, already fulfilled, and our acts of love, kindness, and generosity come from the knowledge that we are enough, regardless of how others respond. Giving from abundance is not about overextending ourselves or sacrificing our needs for others. Instead, it's about choosing to share the love, attention, and care that we already have within ourselves without expecting anything in return. This kind of giving is sustainable because it comes from an internal source of nourishment, not from a place of depletion. When you start giving from abundance, there is an immediate shift in the energy around you. People feel the difference. They sense that you are not giving because you need something from them, but because you are full of love and want to share that energy with those around you. This shift is magnetic. Men, in particular, are drawn to this energy because it signals a sense of self-sufficiency and emotional maturity. When you give from a place of abundance, you show that you are not dependent on others for your happiness or fulfillment. You are already content and secure within yourself, and as a result, the energy you share is free of expectation. This kind of giving creates a sense of ease and flow in your relationships. When we give out of a place of lack, there is often an underlying sense of urgency or expectation attached to our actions. We may give to someone in the hopes that they will reciprocate, but when we don't receive what we were hoping for, we feel disappointed or resentful. Giving from abundance, however, allows us to remain emotionally free. We can give without any attachment to how it will be received, knowing that we are not giving to fulfill a need within ourselves, but because we genuinely want to contribute to the well-being of others. This mindset transforms the way we approach relationships, creating a dynamic where both parties feel free to give and receive in a healthy, balanced way. When you give from abundance, you also begin to recognize your own worth and value. You stop seeing yourself as someone who needs to prove their love or worthiness through constant giving. Instead, you recognize that you are deserving of love and attention simply because you exist. This shift allows you to set clearer boundaries and make decisions that align with your highest self. You no longer tolerate being treated poorly or settling for less than you deserve because you know that you are enough just as you are. This sense of self-respect naturally invites others to treat you with the same level of care and consideration that you give to yourself. Giving from abundance also means that you stop looking to others to fill emotional gaps or fix what's broken within you. This doesn't mean you shouldn't seek love, companionship, or intimacy, but it means that you approach these desires from a place of wholeness. You don't need someone else to complete you. You're already complete. And when you give from that space of inner wholeness, you offer others the chance to love and appreciate you in a more authentic way. They are drawn to the fact that you are not dependent on them to meet your emotional needs, but instead you come into the relationship as a full, capable person who is offering love because it is in your nature to do so. In relationships, this shift in how we give can have a profound impact. When men see that you are no longer giving to fill an internal void, they begin to notice the difference in the dynamic. The energy they once took for granted starts to feel rarer, more precious. They recognize that you are no longer constantly available to fulfill their emotional needs, and this causes them to value your energy more. Men, in particular, often respond to the energy of abundance because it signals emotional independence and strength. When you stop giving from a place of neediness, they begin to realize that your attention, affection, and time are valuable, and they must earn it in a healthy way. The beauty of giving from abundance is that it creates a balanced, harmonious flow of energy in a relationship. Both people give because they want to, not because they feel obligated or driven by a sense of lack. When both individuals are coming from a place of internal fulfillment, the relationship flourishes. There is no pressure to constantly do for each other in order to maintain the connection. Instead, both partners contribute in meaningful ways, leading to a deeper, more authentic connection. When you give from abundance, it's important to remember that this doesn't mean you should give without taking care of your own needs. In fact, the more you focus on your own well-being and personal growth, the more you have to offer others. You can only give as much as you have within yourself. And when you give from a place of abundance, you inspire others to do the same. It creates a ripple effect of love, respect, and generosity that can transform the way you experience your relationships, leaving both you and those around you feeling more fulfilled, more valued, and more connected. Emotional independence is one of the most powerful qualities you can develop, and it plays a crucial role in creating healthy, lasting relationships. At its core, emotional independence is about being able to stand on your own 2 feet emotionally without relying on another person to validate your worth or make you feel whole. It's about finding your sense of peace, joy, and fulfillment from within rather than depending on someone else to give it to you. When you achieve emotional independence, you shift the entire dynamic of your relationships, including romantic ones, from one of dependency to one of balance and mutual respect. When you're emotionally independent, you stop looking to your partner to meet all your emotional needs. Instead, you become responsible for your own happiness, and you learn how to nurture and care for your own emotional well-being. This doesn't mean that you no longer need love or connection, but it means that you no longer expect someone else to complete you or fix what's broken inside. You are already complete on your own, and this mindset shifts how you interact with others. One of the key aspects of emotional independence is self-awareness. When you are emotionally independent, you become more in tune with your own feelings, needs, and desires. You recognize when something isn't aligned with your true self, and you have the strength to address it. You don't ignore your emotions or suppress them to please others. Instead, you embrace your feelings, honor them, and take responsibility for them. This level of emotional maturity not only helps you navigate difficult situations with grace, but also creates a sense of security within yourself. You don't need to depend on someone else to regulate your emotions or give you the reassurance you need. You trust yourself and your ability to handle whatever comes your way. Another crucial element of emotional independence is setting healthy boundaries. When you're emotionally independent, you recognize that you have the right to say no, to protect your own emotional space, and to prioritize your needs without feeling guilty. You understand that your worth doesn't depend on constantly pleasing others or sacrificing your own well-being for the sake of others' comfort. This doesn't mean that you become selfish or unwilling to support others, but it means you understand the importance of self-care and self-respect. Setting boundaries allows you to preserve your energy, maintain your emotional balance, and ensure that you are in relationships where your needs are also honored. When you're emotionally independent, you also let go of the need to control other people or situations. You stop trying to manipulate outcomes to ensure that things go your way. Instead, you focus on controlling what you can, your own actions, reactions, and responses. This doesn't mean you stop caring about the people in your life. It simply means that you no longer tie your emotional state to their actions or behavior. You learn how to remain centered and balanced regardless of external circumstances. This emotional resilience gives you the freedom to engage in relationships without fear or anxiety, knowing that your worth isn't contingent on what others do or don't do. The shift towards emotional independence also leads to a greater sense of inner peace. When you're no longer emotionally dependent on others, you stop seeking external validation to feel good about yourself. You learn to be comfortable in your own skin, and you stop looking for someone else to make you feel whole. This creates a deep sense of self-acceptance, which is incredibly attractive to others. People are drawn to those who are emotionally independent because it signals that they are secure, confident, and self-assured. Men, in particular, are often drawn to women who exude this kind of emotional strength. When a woman is emotionally independent, she is no longer clinging or desperate for attention. Instead, she offers her love and energy freely, from a place of abundance, and this creates a dynamic where both partners can flourish as individuals and together. Emotional independence also encourages a sense of freedom within the relationship. When neither partner is emotionally dependent on the other, they can experience a deeper connection based on mutual respect, shared values, and genuine affection. There is no pressure to constantly fix or rescue each other, and no one feels responsible for the other's emotional state. Instead, both individuals bring their whole selves to the relationship, which allows for a healthier, more fulfilling connection. You no longer feel the need to control the relationship or hold on to it out of fear of losing it, because you know that your happiness isn't contingent on being with someone else. This emotional independence creates space for growth, not just within yourself, but also within the relationship. When both partners are emotionally independent, they have the freedom to grow and evolve individually, which in turn strengthens the bond between them. Each person has the ability to explore their own passions, dreams, and desires while also nurturing the relationship. You no longer fear change because you know that growth is natural and that you will remain grounded in your own emotional security no matter what happens. The freedom that comes with emotional independence also encourages a more relaxed and trusting connection. You no longer feel the need to chase love or constantly reassure your partner. Instead, love becomes something that flows naturally between both individuals without manipulation or control. You allow each other the space to be yourselves, and this creates a more authentic and genuine relationship. When both people are emotionally independent, they can engage in the relationship without fear of losing themselves or becoming overly dependent on the other for validation. Ultimately, emotional independence transforms the foundation of any relationship. When you are emotionally independent, you no longer seek to control, possess, or manipulate your partner. Instead, you approach your relationship with a sense of security and freedom that allows both people to thrive. This not only strengthens the bond, but also makes you more magnetic and attractive to others. People are drawn to those who are self-assured, grounded, and emotionally mature. And when you embody these qualities, you create a space for love to flourish naturally. When you stop overgiving in relationships, you stop sacrificing your own happiness and well-being for the sake of others. Overgiving often stems from a deep-seated desire to prove your worthiness, to gain approval, or to ensure the other person stays in your life. It can manifest in various ways, whether it's in constantly putting the other person's needs before your own, neglecting your own goals and desires, or tolerating behaviors that make you uncomfortable simply to keep the peace. The problem with overgiving is that it creates an imbalance in the relationship. You end up giving more than you receive, which can leave you feeling drained, unappreciated, and emotionally unfulfilled. One of the first things you must understand when you stop overgiving is that your worth is not defined by what you do for others. You are inherently valuable, and you don't need to prove your love, kindness, or generosity by constantly overextending yourself. This shift in mindset is key to breaking the cycle of overgiving. It's not about becoming selfish or disregarding others' needs entirely. Rather, it's about recognizing that you too deserve to have your needs met and that you are entitled to give love and energy without feeling like you have to earn it through sacrifice. Overgiving often stems from an emotional need or a fear of rejection. If you are afraid that someone will leave you or stop loving you unless you give more, you may find yourself constantly over-delivering, whether that means doing favors, offering emotional support, or compromising your values. But in truth, this kind of giving doesn't lead to the deep, authentic connection that you may crave. Instead, it leads to an unhealthy dynamic where one person feels like they must constantly work to keep the relationship intact, while the other may become dependent or take the giver's efforts for granted. This is where resentment can begin to build because the overgiver starts to feel drained, used, and unappreciated, while the receiver may not even be aware of the strain on the other person. To stop overgiving, it's crucial to recognize that true love and connection don't require you to sacrifice your own happiness or sense of self. In fact, the healthiest relationships are those where both individuals are emotionally self-sufficient and able to give from a place of abundance rather than out of a need for validation or fear of rejection. When you stop overgiving, you make space for more genuine, balanced exchanges of love and energy. You stop depleting yourself in ways that leave you empty and instead learn to give in a way that feels fulfilling and sustainable. You learn to prioritize your own needs and well-being, knowing that doing so doesn't mean you're neglecting others, but rather ensuring that you have the emotional capacity to show up for them in the most authentic and loving way possible. Another key aspect of stopping overgiving is learning how to set healthy boundaries. When you stop overgiving, you create a sense of self-respect that allows you to honor your own time, energy, and emotional space. Setting boundaries is not about rejecting or isolating others. It's about respecting yourself enough to say no when something doesn't feel right or when you need time to care for yourself. Boundaries help ensure that your giving is both intentional and balanced. Instead of saying yes out of obligation, guilt, or fear, you begin to say yes only when it aligns with your values and when you genuinely have the energy and desire to give. This allows for a more authentic and respectful exchange where both people can contribute in a way that honors each other's needs and well-being. One of the greatest gifts of stopping overgiving is that it frees you to focus on your own growth, goals, and desires. Overgiving often takes up so much of our time and energy that we neglect our own dreams or put our own needs on the back burner. When you stop overgiving, you can shift your focus back to yourself. You can prioritize your own goals, invest time in activities that bring you joy and fulfillment, and work on becoming the best version of yourself. This is not a selfish act, but a necessary step in maintaining your emotional health and well-being. When you are centered in your own sense of purpose and fulfillment, you bring a healthier and more balanced energy to your relationships. Stopping overgiving also allows you to attract healthier, more balanced relationships. When you stop overextending yourself for the approval or validation of others, you start to recognize what true love and respect look like. You begin to demand more from your relationships and set higher standards for how you expect to be treated. This shift in energy is magnetic. It signals to others that you value yourself and are not willing to settle for less than you deserve. People who truly appreciate you will respect your boundaries and recognize the value you bring to the relationship. By stopping overgiving, you send a clear message that you are not willing to be taken for granted or to oversacrifice for others' comfort. You know that healthy relationships are built on mutual respect, trust, and genuine affection, not on one person constantly giving more than they receive. Finally, when you stop overgiving, you also stop trying to fix or change others. This doesn't mean you stop caring for the people in your life or wanting the best for them, but it does mean you stop taking on the responsibility for their happiness, growth, or emotional well-being. Each person is responsible for their own journey, and trying to constantly fix someone else's issues or take on their emotional burdens is not your job. When you stop overgiving, you free yourself from the weight of carrying someone else's emotional load, which allows you to show up in a more empowered and authentic way in the relationship. When you stop overgiving, you learn to give in a more balanced, sustainable way. You honor your own needs and boundaries while still showing love, care, and support for others. This creates a healthier dynamic in your relationships and allows you to engage with others in a way that is fulfilling, respectful, and emotionally nourishing for both parties. The act of stopping overgiving is not about being selfish, but about reclaiming your own energy and emotional space. And in doing so, you create the foundation for deeper, more meaningful connections. When you embrace your own worth and stop seeking external validation, you begin to shift the entire foundation of your relationships. So many of us have been conditioned to rely on others to define our value, whether it's from our partners, friends, or even society. We look for approval, affection, and attention as a means of feeling good about ourselves. The truth, however, is that when we seek validation from external sources, we give away our power and create a cycle of dependency. We start to believe that our value is contingent upon how others see us or how they treat us, and this leaves us vulnerable to disappointment, resentment, and emotional instability. Embracing your own worth means recognizing that you are valuable, complete, and enough just as you are without needing anyone else to affirm it. It's about understanding that your intrinsic worth does not fluctuate based on how someone else perceives you. This realization allows you to break free from the cycle of seeking validation and instead come from a place of internal strength. When you stop looking outside yourself for approval, you start to cultivate a sense of self-love and self-respect that becomes magnetic to others. One of the most powerful shifts that comes from embracing your own worth is the ability to set healthier boundaries. When you recognize your value, you no longer tolerate behavior that undermines your sense of self. You stop settling for relationships or situations that do not honor or respect you. Instead, you make conscious decisions about who and what you allow into your life. Setting boundaries is a direct reflection of the love and respect you have for yourself. When you stop seeking validation, you no longer feel the need to compromise your own beliefs, values, or needs just to keep the peace or to avoid conflict. You become more confident in saying no when something doesn't align with your truth, and you give yourself permission to prioritize your own well-being without guilt. Another critical aspect of embracing your worth is letting go of the need to constantly prove yourself. When you rely on external validation, you often find yourself working overtime to demonstrate your value to others. You might go out of your way to be helpful, overly accommodating, or excessively generous in an attempt to earn approval. This can lead to burnout and feelings of being unappreciated because the recognition you seek never truly satisfies you. When you embrace your worth, you no longer feel the need to prove anything to anyone. You realize that you are already enough, and that you don't need to continuously show others why you deserve their attention or affection. This shift allows you to move through life with greater ease, free from the constant pressure to meet external expectations. Embracing your worth also helps you develop a deeper sense of emotional independence. In relationships, it's easy to fall into the trap of thinking that your happiness depends on the other person's behavior or affection. You may believe that their approval or love is necessary for you to feel secure and worthy, but when you stop seeking validation, you begin to understand that your happiness comes from within. You become emotionally self-sufficient, which means that you no longer need someone else to make you feel good about yourself. This doesn't mean you don't enjoy or value the love and support of others, but it means that you no longer rely on them to fill an emotional void inside you. You start to create your own emotional fulfillment and bring this sense of wholeness into your relationships, creating a balanced dynamic where both partners can contribute to each other's well-being without one feeling overly dependent on the other. Another powerful shift that happens when you embrace your worth is that you stop allowing people to treat you poorly. When you seek external validation, it's easy to overlook red flags or tolerate behaviors that don't serve you simply because you want to be loved or accepted. But when you recognize your inherent value, you no longer accept disrespect, mistreatment, or unhealthy dynamics. You begin to demand more from your relationships, not because you are entitled, but because you understand that you are worthy of kindness, respect, and consideration. This sense of self-worth empowers you to walk away from situations or people who don't treat you in the way you deserve. The more you honor your worth, the more you invite people who value you for who you truly are, rather than for what you can do for them. In relationships, this shift can be transformative. When you stop seeking validation from others, the energy you bring to the relationship changes. You no longer act from a place of need, but from a place of self-assuredness and contentment. This is incredibly attractive to others, especially in romantic relationships. When you are emotionally independent and self-validated, you stop trying to control or manipulate the relationship to get the love and attention you crave. Instead, you bring your whole authentic self to the table, and this creates a more balanced, healthy dynamic. Your partner no longer feels the weight of having to constantly reassure you because you are already secure in yourself. As a result, the relationship can grow in a more organic and genuine way based on mutual respect, trust, and appreciation. When you embrace your worth, you also begin to attract more fulfilling relationships. As you become more aware of your value, you start to recognize what healthy relationships look like. You understand that true love and connection are based on mutual respect, support, and equality, not on the need for external validation. You stop tolerating toxic or imbalanced relationships, and you start gravitating toward those who genuinely appreciate you for who you are. This shift creates the space for deeper, more meaningful connections, where both people are able to give and receive love freely, without manipulation or dependency. Ultimately, embracing your worth is about reclaiming your personal power and stepping into a space of emotional freedom. When you stop seeking external validation, you open the door to living a more authentic, empowered life. You begin to attract the right people into your life and build healthier, more balanced relationships. You cultivate a deeper sense of self-love and respect, and you create a foundation of emotional independence that allows you to navigate life with confidence and ease. This internal shift doesn't just change your relationships, it transforms the way you see yourself and the way you move through the world, creating a life that is truly aligned with your highest self.